Hey, welcome to the Ryan Got the Bread podcast. This is episode 12. I can't believe we've gotten here. We're in the Mansa Media studio. I'm really excited today. I have Melvin Brown, who is a pretty interesting character. He actually recently did a bid for the Clementon Park amusement park, which is outside of Philadelphia. He also is a member or founder of Fresh Media and Fresh Development LLC. I think today we're talking about the intersection of a lot of different entrepreneurship, maybe some politics, maybe, I don't know, I might stay away from that. But, I'm really curious about how you put together a bid to buy such, an amusement park and how that works out. So welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me here.
I really appreciate you coming out here. I know it looks like a setup when you first pull up because it's a factory that we're at. You pull up, we're in a metalworking factory, and then upstairs, this is our studio.
I think you got a dope space. I think it's the space that people will appreciate and admire the hard work that you put behind your show.
Right. So I wonder what people think of this table because it's kind of, I don't like it, but.
You got to do.
Yep. So the reason I asked you here, well, first, I want you to, who are you? Like, what have you done? Give your resume, all your accomplishments, and then we'll get into it.
So to sum everything up, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur probably since 2007. I had the opportunity to go to school in Virginia, Norfolk State University. And after my freshman year, I sold my first organization company to my school, which paid for my school. So basically the company was an organization. It was basically a way for the school to improve their retention rates and graduation rates. And then in the first year, we improved it by like 7%, and that basically paid for my whole school. Wow. Got really into education after that. After leaving Norfolk State, we had the opportunity to go host basically the largest education hackathon in the state, a statewide hackathon in education. And then I got invited to the White House to do some stuff.
Which one?
The one in the United States.
The Obama White House?
It was under the Obama administration.
Or was you hanging out with Trump?
No, I wasn't hanging out with Trump, but it was under the Obama administration. This is back like 2013.
Oh, okay.
So I had the opportunity to launch an initiative called the Hbcu Startup Initiative, working with HBCUs to get a better pipeline to opportunity in the technology space. So back in 2007 to 2009, the iPhone came out, Facebook was open up to everyone. So it was a huge rush to get into technology. I went to school with all these great engineers that were not getting jobs at these tech companies, and I wanted to change that. So I came up with an initiative, reached out to some people in Silicon Valley, and then had the opportunity to come up with the initiative that we launched with the White House. So this initiative today still goes on, where we send kids out to Silicon Valley every year to connect them to the Facebooks, the Googles, the Airbnbs. And it's ran by my co-founder for that was Chad Womack, and he's the UNCF Director of STEM Initiatives at the United College Negro Fund.
Dang, that's how old are you?
I'm 31, turn 32 next week.
That's a lot of big stuff to do already at that age.
That's just half the story.
Right, that's just some of it, right?
But yeah, so when it comes down to it, is I'm all about trying to find solutions to help people succeed and move forward in life. When people ask me what's my why, it's really to close the wealth gap. I feel like that's something that's been excluded from a lot of people. And now that the information and if technology is out there, I think we need to use these resources and technology and information to try to gain some wealth for our people.
That's why I'm so excited because, with all the unfairness and problems that we have, technology really equalizes a lot of things. If you have a cell phone, you could do a lot of stuff just off of that. Mm-hmm. And so that's why this exists. And kind of similar to your why, I love educating and making, and that's why I do the podcast, right? So what I'm trying to do here is make these things that I think when you look at them, maybe you're 18 or whatever, or even, middle-aged, you look at the accomplishments of people and stuff that they did and find that it's impossible, right? Like if you look at the story of Mark Cuban or whatever, you're like, it doesn't feel accessible. Mm-hmm. But the reality is there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff. Like all the things that you have accomplished, you were a college student and you sold a company, that's like a big deal, but I want to make it relatable, you know, and like these conversations I think help with that. The most recent thing is the way I found out about you is Kyle, our producer. Y'all went to school together, and he shared the NewJersey.com article, one of these articles,
the Philadelphia Inquirer
article about you putting together a ownership group to purchase Clementon Park. For people that don't know, Clementon Park is like a Six Flags type of
I wouldn't say Six Flags,
park.
but it's
a lower price.
It's one of the oldest amusement parks in the country. It's over 114 years old.
Oh wow!
And next year it'll be selling 115 years of operation. It's a historical site. It's like one of the last trolley parks, because it has it was built based off of the trolley that still operates today. So it has a lot of history, and a lot of the community members did not want to see that park go.
Yeah. So what gave you what gave you the idea, like, hey, why don't we try to buy that? Because that is not a normal thing, right? Like, you're just like, wait, that's for sale for whatever X millions that it might cost to buy it. It's like, it's not a normal thing to just be like, hey, let's buy it, or let's figure out a way to make that happen. So
when I first created Fresh Development, and it actually goes back further than that, I reached out to them once they closed in 2019. They were saying they're going out of business. The guy was going into bankruptcy. So I reached out to them and asked them, like, hey, how much are you trying to sell this park for? And they told me at the time 2.5 to maybe $3 million. Tried to get more information, then COVID happened. And I just lost all communication. He went into bankruptcy, and then they threw it on the market once he got out of bankruptcy, like the end of February. So I was like, okay, well, this is my perfect opportunity to acquire this. And the reason for me, it wasn't to own a park. It was more of how I can get the community involved and use this asset to generate wealth for the community. I feel as though a lot of times in these big transactions for these type of deals, most people that benefit from these transactions are banks or institution or VCs or people with capital. So I was like, let me see if I can crowdfund this way to do it, to acquire this park. I did have some ties to the park. I did work there. That was one of my first jobs. I grew up in an era of like Roller Coaster Tycoon and things of that stuff. So I had opportunities to like, oh, I can run this amusement park. And then I'm always a child of faith, so I always took those leap of faith. So for big challenges, that's kind of helped me in my path along the way. I moved to Vegas with $200 in my pocket. Did stuff with the White House. Like, I had opportunities because I took that leap of faith and I just had a chance to. But this one was like, let's see if we can really acquire this amusement park. So I just ran it by my friends, and they just like, go for it.
So like, you know, how do you just go like, all right, I'm just going to do this? Like, what is the mentality that you have that you're like, I'm just going to buy this?
One, you
or
do
execute on
one.
Like,
You
move
definitely
to Las Vegas for $200. Like, how do you like? You know, I like that because I like to take risk and just go for stuff if I want to do it. But like, how do you think about that?
One, you do research. You understand what you're getting into. So even with the amusement park industry, I understand what the trends were. So I trade stocks, so I understand like how to look at financials and how things generate funds. And then also being a person that grew up on Roller Coaster Tycoon and love roller coasters, you follow the industry on like what's coming new and all this different of that sort of that industry. But I collect a lot of data, come up with a game plan, and then just execute it. So okay, so what did you do, right? Because like, you don't got $2-3 million laying around. If someone wanted to try to take on that type of venture, what are like the steps that you need to do to try to One, you start with a business license, and then you go from your game plan to this is what I'm going to do, basically a business plan, pitch deck, understanding that with this money that you give me, this is how you get your return on your funds. I have experience in that within the tech industry where I raised capital in the past. where when I moved to Vegas with the $200 on my year anniversary, I got my first investment for my educational tech company. So I kind of understand the process of it, and I also help other people do it as well, of just coming up with a game plan, understanding the business plan, and pitching to investors, and then networking. When I moved to Vegas, I connected with a lot of individuals that are investors and billionaires.
How do you find them?
I got invited out to Vegas by a guy named Tony Hsieh. Mm-hmm. He was the CEO of Zappos.com and sold his company to Amazon for $1 billion. Right. And he was doing a whole downtown development where he moved his new headquarters downtown and was doing a redevelopment in the whole downtown Las Vegas. And he flew me out there, paid me up in a condo.
Why? How did you interact with him initially?
Text message, emails.
How do you get a text number?
You just reach out to him and tell him what you're doing. I just launched an initiative with the White House, and I got all these individuals.
So you got contacts through that.
I got contacts through all types of people, because it's just at the time you cold call, network, friends connect you here. It's all just networking. This is just the game of life.
Kyle, producer moment. So I want you to.
Kyle's talking.
Yes. So Melvin, I want you to key in on this, because Black people often feel like our network is limited to who we know. I want you, if you can, give some tips and pointers as to how you can expand your network. Like, what is it specifically that? Because that's kind of what Ryan is asking.
Yeah, like what's the steps that?
Because a lot of kids, they'll see that
it's impossible. I don't have $2 million. I can't do it.
What was it that, one, made you feel like it was possible, and two, what did what were the steps that you took to make that happen?
And turn this mic up.
There's multiple failures.
Hold on, let me reiterate his question. So Kyle's jumping in, and so you're gonna have to cut this. So put that on the time code, because I don't want that whole long explanation, because it doesn't sound good. So Kyle, our producer's hopping in, and he's asking, and this is what I'm trying to get to, is like specifically, like a lot of people feel like this stuff is impossible. I don't have 2 million, 3 million to do anything. Like what do you do? Like, because I don't know any rich people.
Well, it starts with the mind at the end of the day. Like, if you can't believe it or dream it or understand it, your body's not going to do it, and you're not going to manifest what you're going to go after.
So why do you think that you can, I guess? Like, what
from past,
this is like a therapist question, right? But like,
from past experiences, past failures, past mentorships and guidance, I take on a lot of responsibilities in my past that I feel as though that prepared me for moments like this. And then
what was your first one? So you sold a company when you were in college, right?
My sophomore year.
Was that like the first big deal that you had?
It paid for my college, so I think that was a big deal. For me, I was just happy that I got this organization up the ground and running, and then I made improvements, and then that tradition still goes on to this day.
So that first time, before you had done anything, what motivated you to try to build a business?
I see a problem and I want to solve it. That's basically what it is. It's just like, okay, this is the problem on hand. What's the best way to do it? Gather my resources and execute.
Okay. So like, all right, because I feel like the vibe I get is that you're good at facilitating, bringing people together to accomplish a task, which is something that I'm trying to work on, as far as like, because I'm like a lone wolf. Like, I've done everything on my own. Mm-hmm. I've always not wanted to take investor money because I wanted to have a proof of concept. I wanted to make sure I had a track record of success before I got involved. Now I'm looking at doing real estate investments with groups of people, which I'm looking at doing like a 506B. It's like a crowd fund, but you're just not allowed to publicly advertise it versus a crowd fund when you can. So I guess where I'm trying to go is like, I'm looking for some tangible steps as far as like, what do you do to like find these people initially when you had the CEO of Zappos, at some point you didn't know him. Yeah. How did you
cold call?
So you just called him.
Where
do you get their phone number from?
It's the internet. You search for it.
You search for Zappos CEO phone number?
Tony at Zappos.com.
And they had a number?
He had an email.
Wow, that's crazy. Because I would not think
Unfortunately, just passed this past fall.
Really?
But yeah.
Oh, man.
But it's, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, you just reach out to people. Like, there's no thing. And yes, they say cold calling probably dead or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times people are doing DMs now. So like, you just hit them in a DM, let them know what you're doing. They are either
do you give like a pitch deck, or do you just like
so for the Clementon Park one, I gave a pitch deck. I made a public pitch deck and let people see it, put it on the website, let them know the process of investing with us, let them know the rules that the SEC has placed on investing with type properties like this.
Now, did you need an attorney like to set it up? Because when you're getting into like a big deal like that, it becomes SEC regulations with it. Like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, so all the non-accredited investors we did a loan note with them, and we did process everything with them, but we didn't sell to anybody that did not have under $200,000.
Oh, okay, so that's the thing.
So
like,
we just kept a creative solution for the time period that I had, and that's the best way we gave our investors to get into. But we had accredited investors, and then we had partners as well.
Interesting. Because that's the big thing is like, I'm interested in this non-accredited investor world because that's my network. Like, I don't know people that have 200K in income or $1 million in assets or whatever makes them an accredited investor. But I feel like if I could put together
it's a lot of work.
People,
it's a lot of work.
It's expensive.
It was time consuming. So that was kind of one of the issues that. So when it got out of bankruptcy of Clementon Park, I had like 24 days.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
To put together pitch decks,
so
what you're going to do with the property.
So I was on Zoom calls for an hour trying to just get like $5,000 with every day back to back.
Oh my goodness.
And at that level of non-accredited, you're basically really bringing it down to a level so they understand it.
Right.
So our public pitch deck was normally, if you pitch it to a VC, it's probably like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, about 10 slides. But ours was...
Because they get it already.
Yeah, but ours was like a little longer because you had to walk them through. And then also the fact that it's an amusement park, it was multiple things and planned.
Yeah,
so like
COVID.
and so you had a lot of things that kind of affected with the road, but you had to basically you're building trust with these individuals. And normally in these type of deals, you have 6 months plus in order to build the trust with these individuals. And I only had a couple weeks to do this, so I'm pouring out my heart and soul in these Zoom meetings for like $5,000, to $2,000, whatever the case may be, whatever they had. But I made sure that all that information was available to these individuals and be as transparent as possible.
How much were you able to raise, and basically what happened?
So we raised over $500,000 with on paper, meaning we had letters of intent and all verified with basically proof of funds, and then we had partners coming on. We had three different partners that were at a $3 million point range, and we had some people pull out the last minute. And that kind of affected our overall bid.
In the news article, it said you were looking to get like $7 million.
So
yeah, the whole project. Like,
so the whole week, so the whole 18 months, we were trying to get $7 million. We wanted to get the property under 3. They had some issues with the property. They had like 2 tax liens on it, and they had like a loan agreement for the water dam. So we knew we could get it for like under that, but our purchasing agreement had $3 million because we just wanted to get it out the gate.
Right.
The property sold for 2.4.
Right.
But yeah, we had some investors back out at the last minute. One thing I learned from that experience is just don't rush to those type of deals just because you have to do due diligence.
In 30 days, it's tough.
And due diligence. You had I had people, like I said, back out the last minute.
Can you talk about like why they backed out?
Inspection. We did our final inspection that Friday before. They felt as though we had a budget in our business proposal that we needed $1.1 million to get it up and running for this year.
They thought it was going to be more.
They thought it was going to be more. They were still concerned about COVID. A lot of our paperwork, like we actually had to like file like partnership agreements on like that weekend,
right? And
then also try to get a lawyer to try to approve of it, and it was a lot.
Yeah,
so
30 days. I mean,
most
people don't buy a house in 30 days.
Mind you, it all the way up to the auction where we actually delayed the auction because they were waiting on a wire from us.
Dang, that's tough.
So, because someone took a wire from us.
No.
Yeah, in our deposit. We needed $150,000 for our deposit.
Yikes.
And then I was informed on the Monday before that she didn't want to be parts of it. So I had to take money out my savings. I took like 25 out my savings, and then I had another partner come up with 125, and then we had to wire everything on the day of the auction.
Just to be able to get into the auction,
Just to be able to bid.
To put the deposit down. Wow.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
Hell yeah. No, because you learn. You have a blueprint. You have a framework now.
Right.
And then also, it's just the fact that time was not on our side. And I'm not saying I'm slowful, but you should do everything in decency and order. Meaning, like, there was a lot of corners cut because you had to rush. And then you also had to filter out through the people that are just being nosy.
Right.
Wasting, like, it was a lot of time. And for me...
Did you have a team?
It's a small team of us. I had an assistant helping me. She was like a virtual assistant, a friend, paid her, whatever.
So you're paying out of your own pocket for all these people and all this stuff to get the bid together?
To do tours, we did walkthroughs, we did contractors, inspection. I'm thinking we're going to win this bid. I'm not going anywhere like, oh, this is a fun run.
Right.
I'm more as like, I want to acquire this park and execute on the vision that I had planned.
What's up with letters of intent, right? Like, so people tell you, hey, I'm good for 25 grand.
Mm-hmm. We didn't process those. I wanted to secure the property first, and I wanted to use our partner's money to acquire the property, and then I was going to process
for the rehab money. Because if you
not even rehab, and just on closing, we had the opportunity to close. So once we had the property under wraps, all we needed was 10% down. So we don't need max probably 300,000.
Okay. So,
and then I was going to process everybody. And then I had a lot of people on standby saying, once you acquire the property, here's my K, here's my K, here's my K.
Okay. So for the people listening, because I wasn't aware of how this works. So basically what's happening here is like you need 10% down at the time if you won the bid at $3 million.
To make your purchase agreement valid, you needed that 10% earnest deposit.
So you would need 300 grand
if it was that $3 million.
Then you have a certain amount of time
to close,
to raise the money and close. Yeah, but it's a lot easier, I would.
But assume. I had all money lined up prior to it with my partners. It's just the partners.
They wanted to back.
They backed out issues, and then we had some percentage issues. It was a lot, and then I had one investor say I couldn't take accredited money, meaning all the individuals that were accredited investors, because they wanted to have a larger share. It was a lot.
Dang.
Had people fall out like 50,000 though. Like it was a lot.
Shoot. So how much do you think it cost you to like do everything, if you don't mind me asking?
To do like my personal pocket?
Yeah.
Probably a couple of thousand, and also,
that's not bad.
And then also the fact that we put deposits down as well. Like we was invested in as well. I took money out my savings, and
you lose your deposit?
No, you get it back.
Oh, you get it back. Okay, but you have to earmark that money for a certain period of time. Yeah. Interesting.
Just pay wire transfer. It's like $100 both ways.
Right. Yeah, okay, so it's not too bad. Because I mean, I'm looking at building a single family house right now because the market's so crazy. And that's going to cost us a couple grand just to get the plans and architectural drawings and all that stuff. So that's not. I thought.
As long as you got the plan, man, that's the half the battle. A lot of people don't come up with the game plan; they just like the idea of it, and they try to execute. And so that's where my background is. I like to turn ideas to make them real. You got an idea, you have a problem in front of you. Let's make it real. Don't just tell me about it. And I get paid a lot of money to do it.
So before we started recording, you were talking about, because you're into media,
mostly tech and media.
Tech and media, right? Why get into trying to buy Clementon Park? Real estate in general.
I thought it was an undervalued asset. I think it sits on a beautiful lake, like a 23-acre lake. I thought in this climate as well, a lot of outdoor entertainment will be definitely beneficial. I thought I could.
When they open up, it's gonna be crazy out here, I think.
So I thought that was an opportunity, and I thought I could bring a lot of value to the property. I thought with my experiences with things I did in Vegas and the things I did in my past, I thought I could bring an elevated experience where, and elevated experience to the community, but also to my investors that were investing with us. We wanted to look at it as like an investors retreat so we could talk about deals. Like, that's how I looked at it.
It'd be real dope to buy the place that you worked at, when you were 16.
Yeah.
Like the amusement park. That would be crazy.
That was the goal.
I would just do it just to say that.
That was the goal. That was definitely the goal. So I was like, I'm going to get this park, and then like it was right there at my fingertips. But that's what happened. And I'm not upset about it. I learned from this experience, but I also know if I do it, I'll do it definitely different. Just because it was to the point where I had hard money people saying, "Hey," it's like, "Hey," like, but and you kind of get. When you're so focused on a goal, you don't want to get too vulnerable or you don't want to get too desperate. And I think with the different partners that I had, it probably would have just been a lot of confusion. And
I think that's the one big entrepreneurial thing is like most people that it doesn't work. They actually, like most people want to take it back. They appreciate the learning experience for sure. Like, oh, okay, well, next time I'll do this. Boom, next time I'll be ready. Because I feel like that when I take an L or whatever, I feel like I just learn more and do better the next time. And it's better than spending $10,000 at some bum's training class. About
it's the best learning. You learn by doing. Like, it's the best learning, and we have all the resources and information in front of us now. Like, and I'm not encouraging just like go follow anybody on YouTube, but like any information that you need is out there, and it's not bottled up in some institution right now.
What I'm trying to pull out of you is that is not normal. Most people don't think they can do stuff.
I think it's normal. It's what you feed.
Exactly.
I think it's what you feed your mind and who your circle is. I've been around people that own casinos. I've been around people that own corporations. So I see this stuff daily. And it's not
exposure.
That's half the battle too. If you can see it in your mind and you can visualize it, you can do it for yourself. So I think it's normal. I've seen many people do it. So why not let the people that think they can't do it? And that's kind of the blessing of this whole situation of the Clementon Park. All the emails and just text messages saying, "Yo, bro, you inspiring me." Like, that was the stuff that I was like, "Yo, this is crazy." And I wanted to be the framework of like how more deals like this could happen, where the community comes together, invest together, bring your resources and your talents.
The wealth gap.
That's how it works.
I'm really excited. Again, technology kind of plays a part in this, but like I feel like that's like sparking up to happen, where like even like the culture of doing these deals is becoming more like we want to create something for regular people to be able to participate.
Be a part of it.
And I think that's my biggest thing, especially with COVID, right? We've seen the stock market go crazy. We're seeing real estate go crazy. And my big thing is we got to participate, because that is the wealth gap is the lack of participation.
Just the lack of ownership
equity,
and learn how to invest. Like, you got to let your money work for you. You don't always have to trade your time for your money. So like that's the conversation that needs to be had more often. And the crazy thing, I just signed a deal with a nonprofit in New York today, where we're actually starting to teach kids about investing, about entrepreneurship, and even branding and creative. Because at an early age, because the earlier you know this stuff, you gotta start training these individuals on letting them know, like, hey, this is how you make it. This is how you become financially free. You gotta. It's that's the only way. And real estate is one of the top. Yes, the stock market is another one, but the real estate is one of the top. Right. That's what I was
going to ask you. Why, if you're in tech, to pivot to real estate?
Well, tech takes a lot of boundaries that you have to come across. Everyone's not a coder. Everyone doesn't know the language of Silicon Valley. One of the issues that I noticed, even when we connected these individuals to these companies, a lot of them wasn't culture fit.
Right.
So you're in there for a paycheck, and then you're not happy. And then also, I wanted to be more on the focus on the actual ownership side. So we're actually developing companies in this space. It's just a lot more. I'm not saying that there's not companies. There's great people. The conversation has definitely moved forward over the years, but it's just a lot. And then when people think of like, let me open this app, you can build an app if you really put your mind to it, but I think it's just like out of reach. And now real estate is kind of like a hot topic within the community, where a lot of people are getting into wholesaling or real estate license or flipping. It's a conversation that is being had more. And I think having an amusement park would have been just like the next level of like trying to take it to the next level of like, hey, we can invest in these assets that can benefit the community.
Right. What other kind of projects? Because obviously, like, just because that didn't work, and now you have a Rolodex of people, you could get into some kind of other development. What are you thinking about as far as that?
So I have actually like 3 on the table. So a lot of my investors are thinking about coming together to get a marijuana license.
Uh-oh.
So we are trying to come up with like a South Jersey like coalition collective to try to acquire a retail license. And then I was telling you about my 10 acres of land. So
right.
That's
See, this makes more sense. So earlier we were talking, and he said he's acquiring 10 acres and was thinking about, you were going to build like.
We're going to build a house for, well, one of the reasons, because I was in Vegas for the last 8 years. I came back, my parents just turned 60, so I wanted to start trying to retire them soon.
Right.
So the goal was to build a house, but also use the land to generate wealth.
But here we have the Pinelands Commission in New Jersey, and
you can just pay them off.
You can pay them off, but it's going to take time and money, and I don't like dealing with governments. But it makes sense now because you've worked with the Obama administration on some initiatives. You've worked, like, you are in that world, because me dealing with these bureaucrats,
it's
I'm
a lot. That's why.
No, if I got to do some government crap, I am not doing it.
It's definitely when I told you I had that educational company, that's what I had to deal with because of just the bureaucracy.
One of the most regulated.
The bureaucracies. It was just like, it was crazy. You had to pay a lot of people off in order to get basically, I had an app that was incentivizing students to go to school. Las Vegas has some of the highest dropout rates. It's the 5th largest school district, and it's always ranked last. They want you to be dumb. Like, yeah, it's just bad. So what we did was gamify the classroom, where people check in class, get points for going to class, and the more points they got real life rewards. So free movie tickets, smoothies. But it was a lot of money that I had to pay just to get in the classroom. And then also at the time, it wasn't like devices were just introducing into the classes, so they were like, "Oh, we're not going to do it."
That's it. See, I need somebody. My personality is not built for that, because
I like less government. I'm not a big fan of government. If that,
it's like
because I get it. I get it. I get
dumb.
it. I wouldn't call it dumb, but
not all government. I'm not saying, but
it's just a lot of layers that you have to go through, and there's a lot of money just tied up.
It's some of the things that look.
The kids never saw the money.
Let me tell
That's what I'm saying. Like
I was flipping a house, and you need a certificate of occupancy in this town to be able to buy the property without, or they'll fine you for purchasing the property without a certificate of a CO.
How much is that certificate?
It's $100.
Okay,
but the house was run down, so they wouldn't give me a CO. Okay. So I was like, okay, well, I can't get the CO for this property that I have $20,000 in a deposit, non-refundable. So, like, help me out here. I want to buy the property. I don't want to get fined just for buying the property. They're like, well, I had to call the mayor. Okay, this was how crazy it was. Ends up, they're like, all right, well, just put some fire detectors. Mind you, the house is like
half fallen
garbage. They're like, all right, put some fire detectors in there, and then we'll have the fire marshal come and inspect them. And I'm like, okay. So I literally went there and installed new fire alarms, and then called the inspector, and he says, oh, well, it's unsafe because the power's not on. And I'm like, just walk in the building and just look at it. You know, what are you talking about? I, again, had to call the mayor, like, yo, I'm about to lose $20,000. Like, I'm trying to fix a house, and I live in the same town. I'm like, I'm trying to fix up a house and get it from being a vacant, crappy house to a nice house with a homeowner in there, paying taxes, all that good stuff. Eventually, they were like, okay, well, we'll have the fire marshal come. Fire marshal comes. So I go there. I install the stupid fire alarms. He comes. He gives me the piece of paper. And then I rip all the fire alarms down. And I buy the house. And then we start demoing the house. That's why I don't like that. Like, that's my issue with some of this government stuff. Is just like, it's stupid. Yeah. Like, what is the purpose of that? That's just my rant.
I was gonna say.
So me, I just get frustrated. I don't have the temperament to deal with that,
But can't you just use that process for the next one? So now you have the process, you have the blueprint for the next vacant house.
But what it's doing is creating
and also
waste.
The relationship too.
Right, it's creating waste. Is my only.
Yeah, it's definitely extra steps that shouldn't have been
it's dumb.
Yeah.
So
was the house like deemed like vacant or like demolished, or it was just a vacant house?
It was just nasty.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that bad. So
because I was saying if it's deemed like that, they probably had a protocol that passed that. But since it was just vacant,
yeah, it's just. Whatever.
I got your frustration.
It's just,
it's a lot of work.
So I got a bad taste in my mouth with that stuff. So I just try to stay away from it because I could do something else instead of getting these people's permission and approval. I'm a rebel. I just don't want to. I don't want to do that. I just want to do my own thing.
It's definitely a extra step that you don't like. You can literally send pictures and say like this house is like horrible, and
the funny thing is now with COVID, they don't even do it. Like in certain towns they're doing where you just say that it's good. Other ones they'll do like a video walkthrough, and some are just bypassing it completely and saying forget
I think
it.
Those things are going to stay.
Right, because it's smarter, just like remote working.
It's proof of concept.
But why it's obvious like what is going
It's because
on?
That guy that was given that certificate wanted to keep his job.
Yep.
And
that's what I can't do It's crap, man.
He's just trying to make a living, man.
Yeah, at the expense of everybody else.
It's everybody
that like a Republican.
But that's how everybody. It's definitely in a way. But I definitely see benefits in government. But they're getting overboard.
Well, like I remember,
it's just too much.
Joe Rogan had a conversation with some guy who was arguing against like building permits, and I was like, no. You need building permits because.
Yeah.
You don't want to live in a house and it's going to burn down. Right?
It just falls through
now, sometimes they act kind of crazy about it, but again, we could deal with that, All right, cool. It is in the effort of safety, so we understand that.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about where you're from. What's your background?
So I'm born and raised in South Jersey, a small town called Sicklerville, New Jersey. Went to Winslow High School, home of the Eagles.
Winslow?
Hey. Graduated in 2007, and then I went to Virginia, where I studied building construction technology. My dad is an entrepreneur.
Oh, that's why you don't. You're not relating to people that don't feel like they can't.
I'm a different breed, right?
Right.
But I grew up very middle class. My dad opened up our home to at-risk youth, so I have like 20 foster care brothers.
Oh wow.
Yeah. My dad started a church in our garage and grew it to about like a 150 member church. My mom had a inspirational bookstore at the Amish Mark in Williamstown, so I managed that at a young age. And then I've been just all about solving problems and entrepreneurship ever since.
It's so funny. It's like the way the brain works when you have to do these type of things. It's so different than working a 9 to 5 and in that culture. Because my business partner, both his parents were cops, and they're like, you work for 40 years, then you retire, and that's how you do it. And like him and I have been on the same journey of like getting our financial freedom, on the alternate route, not doing that. And we always have conversations, and it's funny because I'll be around his house and his parents look at him crazy because now he was a police officer too, but he was able to retire early. And his parents were like, well, what are you going to do? Like, they feel like you're a bum if you don't have a job.
Yeah.
And so, like, he always has that pressure to, like, work somewhere. And, like, because, like, even his dad, both of his parents retired from the police department, got pensions, all that stuff. They jump into another job, and they're, like, older now, but they still working. And I just think it's a funny... it's just a different kind of mentality.
It's what the society taught them. That's what they were trained or washed, or if you want to call it brainwashed, to do. Like the society tells you, you go to college, you get your little degree, you get your trade or your whatever you do, and you just work all your life, and then you retire at 65.
And I think one of the big things that is the problem is that used to work. Like you could have a good lifestyle like that, where like
it still works for some people.
You could have one person work, and then either you or your wife could stay at home with the kids. You know, you still are able to do vacations. You have 2 cars, blah, blah, blah. That was the life that people could live, you know, the 50s, 60s. And now today, that's not really possible. So that lifestyle doesn't even exist, even though
you're not going to be satisfied.
Right. I mean,
it's the mentality of just like trading time for work. Once you realize like you can make money outside of just trading time for your work. I think people are starting to see that shift. And yes, it's definitely a harder life when you don't have a 9 to 5 all the time, because it's a lot of sacrifices that you take.
Risk.
But the reward is much, much greater. I have freedom, I have time. And then while I was in technology, a lot of the startup companies, when they exit out, it's 1,000 times whatever you invested in. So it's like, it's a lot of risk and but it's a lot of upside to it if it wins. If not, you just got great experience and you just take it to the next one.
Yeah, just do it again.
That's how it goes. So, but I don't discredit anybody that does that 9 to 5. It's definitely a dedication, and whatever their responsibilities they have for their family that they have to do is good. But you need people to take these different risks in order for, like most of my family, yes, they have entrepreneurs and they had projects in the past, but they're out in that 9 to 5 realm, and now it's at a point where it's like, I had the freedom and I created the life, so I can change that generational wealth or that generational curse, if people want to call it that.
I feel like this conversation rubs people that work 9 to 5 the wrong way, but I think the reason why the conversation's had like this is because it goes back to participation, right? Like even if you're working, you gotta participate in ownership or equity or something that is independent of your employer. Yeah. Because without that, you're at the will of your employer. And I think that's not...
Yeah, it's not a good place.
It's better for you if you have something to fall back on. Because I'll tell you, it's a really good feeling if you don't have to care about your job as much. Say you still need your income, but if you get fired, you have savings, like you have some income coming in from stocks or whatever.
That's why I love the stock market, because it gives people the opportunity to build that savings and also generate wealth. And then you also have assets that you can leverage or use.
And again, with what's going on with COVID, the rich are getting richer, and the people that aren't participating.
I made a lot of money in the stock market last year.
Oh, I mean, I looked at my chart. I was like, this. So what do you think is the future for this market, right? Because
we just had that market correction. That actually hurt our bet too. A lot of my investors backed out because February 18th.
Their wealth went down. They're like, oh,
February 18th all the way through March. Bruh, the market it corrected itself. You felt it.
You know what's funny, man? I'm like a Warren Buffett type of stock investor where like I don't really I don't trade. I
don't trade either. I got a reserve. I just built to my reserve. I invest like 500 every week.
Yeah, just keep putting in, and like if I see like if Tesla moves in one direction 10-15%, I'll buy or sell based like if it's down 15, I'll buy. If it's up 15%,
that's I buy on red days.
I'll shave some off, but I'm not trading really. But I know that big moves are going to have a counter reaction in general. I'm not some stock expert either, but I've been trading stocks since I was 18, which is
that's dope.
2006.
That's good.
So
you got in early.
I know something.
I got in. I was on Robinhood's waiting list. I was like 2000, cool. So that was like 2013. It was late. I wish I would have known earlier. That's why I was telling you we're doing that initiative with the kids now, because you need to get in this market.
And I think that goes back to exposure, because the reason why I probably felt so comfortable getting in stocks was my grandfather would have me do his online trades, because it was easier for him to call me and tell me to buy something. And I was like 15 or 16. Yeah. My dad showed me how to do it, and then he was like, "Oh, I'll just call you and tell you
dope,
to make it was Charles Schwab it was." And this was like
That's
forever
that
ago.
Exposure is key.
But
man.
yeah, it was like, oh, you just press this button, boom, now you own the stock. And then I see the plus minus. And, people don't give kids enough credit for their ability to learn. Like credit, personal finance, stocks, equities, even investments. Like a 16-year-old kid can understand any of this stuff if you teach them.
I have my nieces. My nieces, she's turned 7, and the other one just turned 9. I do, like I said, daily stock market videos every day. So that's why I look at the market every day, because I recap it.
And they get it.
They get it. They see it. They like it, because I posted on TikTok, and they're on TikTok, and they're like, oh we like your video. So they always asking me about stocks. I actually just brought them Roblox, because they're always.
That just had an IPO.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all right now, but it's definitely a good buy, because they get all my money for Christmas.
But yeah, so what do you think with the market in general, right? Because when I look at something, what are we up over the last 2 years? Some ridiculous percentage. I don't know.
It's high. It's definitely. I think the market correction will help. Everyone's scared about inflation now. So, and some.
Well, I've been saying it's funny because I felt this, right? Because they kept, like, the official inflation, wherever you would find it. I don't know. I remember reading there was almost no inflation on paper for the last couple of years. But I remember I kept telling people cash is trash. Like, if I have $10,000, I'm trying to get rid of it. Like, I'm buying sports cars. I'm trying to buy real estate. I'm just trying to get rid of this money, stocks, whatever it is. Because sitting in cash is like, why would you have cash?
You shouldn't have cash.
You're like losing money by having cash. Again,
and
participation. I want to end something. But that has to have caused inflation, right? Because even with housing, the prices are going up ridiculous. New Jersey, national home prices since 2017 are up, I believe, over 20%. 3% is a normal, if you look at 100 years of housing prices, the average is like 3%. So these things, this is where I get very concerned, because these moves feel unhealthy to me.
It's definitely unhealthy. They're pumping money like it's crazy right now. Like, it's so much money in the market. So, and then there's less resources. There's no inventory. So sooner or later, it's gonna kind of correct itself. I'm not gonna say it's gonna crash, because I don't think that, because they're just gonna pump more money and kick the can down the road. That's what the government does.
But that's what I get worried, because the rates creeped up a little bit, right? But if we have another economic problem. So usually the way they could spur investment is lowering interest rates, but interest rates are still incredibly low. So there's not really much room to go if there's a big problem, which I don't think
they're going to move it that direction. I think it's going to stay at this level for a while, like
which is crazy.
A 2-year period. And then, like you said, it's just a lot of people. It's hard to get a loan now. Like, if you're not A1.
That's the only difference from 2008, right? That's
so it's just not everybody getting loans at this moment.
That's true.
And then also, I think we're doing a good job with people investing in the stock market and assets as well. There's so many more people in the marketplace in this current climate.
Yeah.
Like
Robinhood,
Robinhood made it real easy and accessible for people to invest.
Right.
So I think people are buying assets like that as well. Bitcoin is a whole nother beast in itself, and crypto. So, like, I don't think it's being pumped, and yes, consumers are buying, but I think they're being really strategic about it too. So I don't know. I don't look at everybody's bank account, but I think it's definitely. I think we're in a good place.
I am getting concerned for the regular person in the housing market, because it's becoming almost impossible to buy a house with the low inventory if you're buying your first house, unless you have a lot of savings or something like that. And I've always advocated for people, if you use 3.5% down on the FHA loan, you can get a seller assist. So you're buying a $200,000 house, you only need $6,500, something like that. Hey, you're going to need more, a little, like $8,000, something like that. That is not happening now. I'm working with a lot of first-time homebuyer clients. So you're not getting a seller assist, that's for sure. So your $7,000 that you need is now closer to $16,000. And then There's cash buyers out there. There's all these cash buyers. Where are these people coming from?
They made a lot of money last year, and then the market's high, so it's hot. So it's a buy time. I think it's definitely.
You think it's a buy time?
I think it's a buy time for people that don't have. It's always a buy time for people that don't have. But I think people, it's just so much money in the marketplace right now. It's like the Fed is just printing money like it's crazy.
That's what I was telling people. I was like, you might pay more for the house, but if you're getting a loan at 2.5%, I mean, it's free money. Who cares? Just take it.
Just take it.
And I'm about to buy a property, and I almost don't care what I'm paying because it's free money. I'll pay 3%, 2.5%. Shoot.
That's his
I'm
deal.
not worried about it, especially over 10 years. Property of the house is going to be way up anyway.
I feel sorry for them, but I think they need to. I think people are understanding the importance of putting their money to work.
For sure. I just get worried, like, it's getting real crazy where people are starting to get left behind. And I'm all for personal responsibility, especially where your finances, like, you need to know what you're doing.
Do you think the government's going to step in? Do you think they did enough already?
The government has left the middle lower class. We are quickly approaching a society that is very have and have not, and I really get concerned with that, because I think the hollowing out or the barbell economy where the middle class is, you got people with barely making it, and then you got a bunch of rich people. I don't think that is good for society, and I think that the way our government is set up is not going to respond to this properly.
So the housing bill, you're not a fan of it?
The housing what?
The housing bill that they're proposing, or the infrastructure bill. Like, those things will create jobs, wealth, build it. And then also, going back to what you're saying.
What is it, $3 trillion?
It's like
they need
3 or
a
4.
$10 trillion infrastructure plan to have any
type of impact.
And then I don't know all the details, but I feel like, and probably shouldn't talk about it until I know all the details and see what actually happens, especially these Democrats with their proposals, because they pump fake people so hard in the media. Oh God, here we go.
But
hold on, let me get this point off. Is what I'm noticing with the Biden administration is they pump fake. Hey, this is what we want to do. The media covers it.
That's how they.
And then
it's called leverage.
Then but even before the negotiation happens, they already negotiate against themselves and give away everything.
Yeah.
Like, they could have gotten the minimum wage if they wanted to get it.
Why do you think that?
Because they only needed 51 votes if they did budget reconciliation. And then they said I forget the name of this person that's in charge of budget reconciliation, but what I read is that they can fire this person and just put a new person who approves it. So then they only need 51 votes to pass.
But doesn't it have to be a law though? So they'll fire that person
but they could do it in budget reconciliation, which only requires 51 votes to pass, and they are able to get certain types of things within the budget. The Republicans have used this a couple times to pass.
It's give and
things.
take. It's give and take.
So
they were trying to get a.
What I'm saying is, whatever they're proposing is going to be some weak sauce and isn't going to move the needle very much.
So going back to your question about the people left behind, I know you were talking about you want to start investing with investment groups. That's an option. I think that's where we both are in the same space. Clementon Park was all about community coming together and then paying them dividends throughout the years.
That's our own
for
hope.
it, because that will give people that income. I just read some articles about how e-commerce, how we spent over $900 billion in just online retails.
Right.
I think that's another space for individuals that are building wealth. It's just, you have to participate, like you said. You have to.
But I do want to say that I've been going down this rabbit hole as far as group investments.
It's complicated.
But it's slanted towards the fact that they have an accredited investor and a non-accredited investor is very problematic, because it's going to cost me $20,000 to even set up the legal infrastructure to do what I'm trying to do. If I knew 2-3 millionaires, I wouldn't have to do that. So this is what I'm saying. Some of the things are slanted in that direction. And this kind of goes back to the stock market situation with the GameStop thing. There's this mentality out there that the retail or average investor is too stupid to invest their own money. And so they're adding guardrails and they're trying to make it harder for you to invest versus someone
Or
an accredited investor has less rules because we want to protect the little guy, but really you're making it harder. So yeah, look, I'm still going to do it, right? But I just want to make the point that
it's hard.
They make it harder. It's harder to be broke.
Because that's where you have to look at any type of government. They are always looking out for people, meaning they want more dependency.
But are they really looking
No,
out?
it's more dependency. That's what I'm saying. It's more of a fact of like, I'm here to walk you through or keep you at this level.
Because they want you to keep working for 40 years.
Working and also just be on their system, on their dime and their control.
It's very problematic. Wow, this got very political. But you know what? I hate people that say that like I don't get involved in politics. I'm like, everything that you do has politics in it. Like to just act like politics don't matter is crazy. So
it's definitely a iffy topic to talk about, but it's like it's what's going on and it's my perspective.
Right.
Like I'm not telling anybody which way is right or wrong. If that was the case, I would be in DC.
Right, yeah,
like I'm not gonna complain about it. I'm just giving my perspective of what I've seen over the years. And a lot of times we need to come together and we need to solve our own issues because I think that's the best way we can solve our issues.
That's all we can do,
So
within whatever the framework is, we got to do it the best we can. At the same time, I do think it's important to be aware of what's happening in politics and all that stuff, because again, if you change the accreditation rules, it might make it easier for people to invest, et cetera, et cetera.
And there's some things that are coming along. Obama administration actually helped a little bit with his bill to like crowdfund and those things.
The ability to crowdfund is so powerful, and I don't think it's even tapped into a lot because it's highly regulated, which makes sense because in the cryptocurrency space, people are getting ripped off because there's no regulation.
And
so I get that.
And it's been going on for years too. Like everyone had a coin in the beginning of like 2019, 2020. Like everyone had a coin. So it's like, you just got to be careful. But any type of investment is a risk and you should invest wisely.
It is exciting because I think the information is getting to the people better. So
yeah, it's what you feed your soul. You got to feed your soul the right stuff.
For sure. Is there anything that you want to tell people or that you feel like you haven't talked about?
Well, we were talking about some projects that are coming next.
Yeah,
so we are trying to apply for a retail license with the state of New Jersey.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And
let that go.
I know a lot of people are trying to get into this space of cannabis. I've saw it personally living in Vegas for the last 7 years. I saw the development and how much money it's going to generate for the state and then also the country. I'm currently connected to some people that have dispensaries out there, so I'm trying to bring them on to help us with this project. That's one project. So
are you trying to do the dispensary side?
We're going to do the dispensary. We're going to do the retail side, meaning the actual dispensary, and then ultimately go down to grow. There's only 25 applications for grow, and I don't have a grower at this moment, and I'm not going to say I'm a grower.
That's my problem with again.
And then also I got like a pine land issues. Like it's a whole process, and I think you have to have like just to be a grower, you have to have like already existing things. Like the rules are ever changing.
This is my problem, man, is that they're trying to box out the little guy.
You talk about regulation.
Yes.
That's going to be a big...
Especially the New Jersey weed bill is very restrictive. So it's like it makes it hard for you or I to make something happen. That's not an excuse. We just got like you're going through the process.
You just got to go through it, man. Go as you go. Like that's it. And the good thing about it is like you can ask for help. You can ask like you don't need to know everything. You just have to be able to be persistent and be able to execute and then get guidance when needed.
Where are you at on that project?
So,
and I don't know a lot about the law. So, is it even like
it just passed? The application just it's going to be released in like the next 30 days for like the growers, and then they just appointed another guy to help assist with that process. I think his name is Tim, and then retail is going to be coming out in probably like 90 days. We're still doing development, meaning more research, more team build and management. And then also I would have to do concept art and work like that. So it's an investment of like a couple $5,000.
You're trying to get investors now for that?
Yes. So we'll have.
Here's my big question. I got it, because this is what I have trouble with. How do you pitch an investment when you don't know any of the variables?
Yes, when you do your research, you have to understand. You have to dive deep. You have to understand like what's going to take to get this off the ground, startup costs all the way to the 5-year plan.
Right.
And then you pitch it to them and let them know.
These numbers are accurate? Because
business plans, no, projections are never accurate.
That's why.
So even with the Clementon Park, we had projections. We had a whole 5-year plan, but what I presented to the public and the media, it wasn't that. It was just basically, this is our projections for the year. Our main goal is to acquire this property. We're going to spend $1 million to invest it, and we need $7 million to get it done.
And that's enough to.
You can either buy it or.
See me, I'm like,
but it's definitely research behind it. It was definitely me understanding the market. We showed what our competitors were doing. We show how they were affected by COVID. We explained every detail that we had, and then ultimately we were going to use when we acquired the property, we was going to use their intellectual property to get more numbers. But it's COVID. It's a whole new climate. You never know.
I think I'm learning about myself as I'm more conservative than I thought as an investor. Yeah. Kyle's saying yes very aggressively. But I mean, because in our house flipping business, so we flip single family houses, I try to keep it very narrow on what we do. I know exactly what it costs to buy a certain kind of house in a certain area, in a certain neighborhood. I know exactly what they're going to go for, so I like to stay with that model.
That's your blueprint,
right? So I think that's like a very conservative thing, because I don't want to buy in different areas, really. I don't want to open it up, and that's why I haven't purchased any properties in the last year, because the prices are up, and like I'd have to reach for something. And I guess maybe because.
But there's a lot of opportunities that being missed that you.
No, I mean, nothing's really, I just think it's too crazy right now. That's why I want to build, which I think is a risk that's different. But for some reason, I'm cool with that. I don't know. I'm just being interested.
Have you got experience with building?
I mean, some of the houses we've done.
It's completely fixed.
Damn near did everything other than doing a foundation, really.
That's my approach. I was always, when I got into real estate, it was always going to be on the development side of things. And then also asset management. That's how I look at it. I look at that's where most of the money is.
Yeah.
But you need the capital up front.
Very capital intensive to be a builder. But we're trying to. I think that's where I want to go to. And I think.
Let me know. I got some money on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we want to do the single family, and then we have leads on a lot where you maybe could build 4 houses on it. But I don't want to go. I'm crazy, man. I don't want to take somebody's money unless I really know what I'm doing. And I need to have done it at least once before I be like, yo.
You got to take this risk, man. It's definitely a risk. But that's also the trust aspect. From our conversation, I think you just build the trust and you just got to deliver. It's a lot of responsibility. But
I don't want to take the risk with your money. I take the risk with my money because it's a small industry.
Start small then.
I mean, I've done little deals with friends and stuff for a couple grand, but I haven't done anything big. So, interesting.
Bigger the risk, bigger.
But if we
reward.
start building, it's a wrap because this is what and I'm just catching up to how you're operating. You got to bring people together. I mean,
that's the only way.
That's the whole thing. I'm doing it out of my own pocket, and me and my business partner. That's it, out of our pocket or banks. But this collective group, financing and all that is really the way to go. And I feel like I'm going to get there. It just took me a while to come around with it.
It's definitely hard. I learned a lot. Like I said, I spent a lot of time just really explaining
You're in that world, man. I don't know this investment VC big money world. So and I have an anti-establishment attitude in general, so I'm skeptical of academia and all this stuff. So all these things kind of naturally make me like.
At the end of the day, it's just people. And once you get to like, you can look at someone in the eye, you can talk to them, and go from there. It's just really connected with other humans. Yeah. Like that's what you were talking about earlier. It's
exactly why you're skeptical of humans.
Kyle said I'm skeptical.
And yes, there's some sketchy ones out there. There's people that don't follow through. That was one of the issues I had, where like people promised things and didn't deliver just because I couldn't do all my due diligence like I needed. But it's just the fact that you got to take these risks in order to move forward. I met some great people. I met people that were willing to manage the park for me, like with JP Morgan backgrounds and Wharton backgrounds. So like I'm thankful for the risk, but it's definitely, you just got to be able to build trust, and that normally takes a longer time than that time frame I had for that. And then outside of the weed, I have a kombucha company. I brew kombucha. That was something that kombucha is like a probiotic tea.
Okay.
So it's like fermented tea. I'm actually, that's been in development for like the last year. We're actually going to be doing some stuff with like some cloud kitchens, where we're going to be selling some tea through restaurant owners, so they can generate more income. But it's just delivery. So we party with all the third parties, the DoorDash, the Uber Eats. That's one concept. I'm also working with a university on trying to make their stadium more of a music venue or outdoor venue. And also bring some new retail to the space. So it's things in the works. It's just applying my resources and taking the time and building the team around it. If I don't have the team, if I don't have the resources behind it, the idea doesn't come to life.
How do you feel about this? I always get worried because, like you, I'm into a lot of different things. The studio here is a business venture. And do you ever get worried, like, when you have your hand in lots of different types of industries that, can be looked as negatively, like you're not a master of one thing.
Yeah, master. Yeah, so it's more of you put it out there and you see which one sticks and which one lands. There's multiple opportunities in any industry, right? But at the end of the day, you got to see which one lands and which one sticks. That's how I look at it.
That's cool.
Because they're like, you can have this one baby and keep kicking it. It might not be the best baby that you need to work with. But it's to the point where, if that investment grows, I'm going to focus my energy on the one that gives me the most. Maybe that's
where I am, right? Because I'm like, man, if I would focus my energy in one of these things that I'm kind of into all of them, maybe that would do better than just touching everything.
Yeah.
But maybe what I'm doing is seeing what I'm taking shots. And actually, Gary Vee made this example of, I'd rather juggle 10 balls and drop 3 than juggle 2 or 3 balls.
Yeah.
So
it's diversification to an extent. It's like diversification. For me, the way I looked at it was like, okay, build your stock portfolio up, have investments in stock, and have a business that give you cash flow, and then ultimately get into real estate. And when I have the cash flow to support the real estate, and then I have 10 acres, try to find ways to make me money, and then also other properties and other businesses that's going to acquire me money or acquire that generates revenue.
Why the real estate? If you have all these other,
I like ownership. I like ownership, and then working in the digital space a lot. I like physical too.
It's not tangible.
It's not tangible.
That's why I really want to build from ground up or develop areas, because there's like an intangible satisfaction. Like you drive by, you're like, I put this stuff here. Like we're in Philly, right? I drive over the bridge. I'm in awe every time I look at the city or any city or structure or whatever. I'm like, people really built all this stuff.
Same here.
It's crazy.
Same here. I growing up, I always wanted to be an architect, study building construction technology.
I might, like when I get some free time, I might do like architectural school for fun. Like that's how much.
It's definitely. I know CAD and all that. It's definitely an industry that I wanted to go into, but I just didn't want to start from the bottom. And I had an entrepreneurial spirit. And then being in college, I had the opportunity to do stuff on the educational side and business side of things. So that just took me in a whole different direction. But I think the tangible, actual physical structure that this building is going to be here after I leave, I think that's amazing to me.
Yeah, there's something about that I really like too. Man.
Even though a lot of people are just saying like it's all digital, I was digital. No, I like the both. I like the mixture of both.
Digital is big, and it's not a lesser medium, I don't think. But like. Some of these buildings out here have been here for hundreds of years.
Yeah,
that's legacy or something. I don't know.
It is legacy. That's exactly what it is. This is something that you actually visioned in your mind and you created it. Like, and then it's gonna be here for how long that structure stands for.
That's dope, man.
But yeah, I definitely those ideas are all in the back burner. We're most likely, when we do come up with our ideas and launch it to the public, it's probably gonna be that main focus. But right now, that's the things that I'm cooking up in my kitchen and our
We
team.
gotta talk about some of these things because I have a lot to learn from you as far as collaborating with people. I gotta do better with that. Last question. Oh crap! I think I was forgetting what I was gonna say. Damn. What was I gonna say? How do you manage your time?
I meditate.
Because okay, so for me, let me paint the picture here. I can't remember a damn thing because I feel like this is a result of being spread very thin.
Okay.
I am in like a million different things. I'm meeting about this, meeting about that, meeting about this. And so I don't remember all the details of the situation because it's like I can't retain all this, like the details of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just big picture here, and let's keep moving in that direction. How do you deal with that?
Delegation's one.
So you got people. I don't have people. That's my problem.
Well, you can always outsource, and you don't need to have people. You can outsource. That's one. Two, meditation always helps. So I start every day with meditation and just really understanding that I have today as a gift, and I'm going to do the best I can with today's gift. And then a to-do list.
Yeah.
That always helps.
Very simple, but
Yeah, and then go to sleep at 9:30.
that's a big one, man. Every time that I stay up too late
It messes everything up.
for days, 2 days.
And then I don't drink. I eat a healthy
That
lifestyle. Vegan, plant-based, all that stuff. But I've definitely seen a difference when I did that.
How long have you done the vegan thing?
About 2 years.
Okay, so I've been vegetarian almost a year.
Okay.
I don't know about the vegan thing. That's tough, man.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had somebody cook it for me, I could do it, but I can't.
It's definitely a hard sacrifice, but it's just a lot of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. I don't even like vegetables that much.
I do like 2 smoothies a day. I do kombucha. I do like a big meal, like lunchtime, and then dinner.
Yeah, man.
Eat between like 12 and 7.
Just twice.
Yeah. Well, twice, or you can snack throughout, but
And
it's
then
mostly
snacks.
mostly one big meal. Maybe like.
I've been kind of doing that a little bit. Not like, I got to figure that out.
But yeah, just that's the best way to manage. Just be present, and then realize like you can't get everything done in one day, and then just focus on the thing that really matters for that day, and then just chip away at it. You can't chop the tree down in one night.
Facts.
So just take your time and just keep chipping away at it.
Well, that's a good place to leave it at. I appreciate you coming by.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me, man. I was like, sure, like, let me tell my story. I know I kind of rushed through it a little bit earlier, but.
No, this stuff is important to hear. Like, you're from Sicklerville, you're from, graduated similar year. I'm 06 or 07, like, just regular guys. And maybe this helps somebody.
Hopefully. I'm looking forward to doing business with you, man. Like, we gotta
talk.
We gotta continue to, like, have this conversation about collaboration and working together, and then building trust with the individuals and making things happen. Like, we could talk all day, but let's make things happen.
For sure. I'm all about that.
Facts, man.
Appreciate you.
No problem.
See you. Ryan Got the Bread podcast.
Where can they find it?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Chief Connector, Fresh Development LLC for our latest projects. Most likely we'll probably be doing our cannabis project first, and then Melvin Douglas Brown Jr. everywhere else. But Chief Connector on all platforms.
There it is. All right. Now that's it. See ya.
Was that good?
Yeah, it was good. I was trying to get more details from you earlier because I'm like, how do you know these people? How do you do this?